Hey everybody, it's Professor Parish, and welcome back to English 109. So, we are well into the semester at this point, past midterms, and headed down to, let's see here, down to week 11. So as I'm recording this, we still are on week 10. And so if you haven't completed the grammar review, textbook activity, or the discussion forum, those are all due by tonight at 11:55 p.m. But let's talk about week 11. So this week, you do have a discussion forum. Those posts are due Friday night for full credit. You can turn them in Saturday or Sunday, but there's a 5-point deduction if you do so. And then your responses to the discussion forum are due by Sunday. The only other two assignments are the grammar review number 6, which I'm going to pull up here in a second, and the thesis outline for your compare and contrast. So, if you've not looked at the thesis for compare and contrast, we talked a little bit about it last week, and chapter 12 talks about it as well. But compare and contrast is just figuring out how you want to say how subjects are similar and different. There's usually two ways that you can go about it, and I'm going to show you in the thesis and outline assignment here in a second. But the only other reading assignment for this week is the compare and contrast paper guidelines and then chapter 4 in your English skills textbook. So let me pull up the grammar review number 6 first before we do the compare and contrast. So grammar review number 6, that section here, I'm going to pull it up, show you guys the guidelines for it. Grammar review number 6 is with chapters 24 and 25 in your English skills textbook. And we're kind of veering back to what we talked about with the last grammar review. On activity 4, you're going to write for numbers 1 through 10 the correct form of the verb in the sentence. So the verb in the sentence on page 257 for this grammar review is not being used correctly, and you just have to write the correct form for numbers 1 through 10 here. Below, on the review test, you're going to pick the correct verb for numbers 1 through 5, and then numbers 6 through 10, or 6 through 12, it's the same thing, but 6 through 12 are extra credit. So you get another chance to get some extra credit in the class, which I know a lot of you have taken advantage of, which is awesome, so please continue to do that. But especially if your grade is not where it needs to be or where you want it to be at this point in the class, I would definitely recommend doing numbers 6 through 12, because that's 6 extra credit points you can get right off the bat, and it's just picking the correct verb in the sentence. So it shouldn't be anything elaborate for this grammar review this week. It's just making sure. I find that the region we're all in, sometimes we do choose the incorrect verb when we talk, and so I definitely wanted to do this assignment to make sure that we are all, as far as standard American English goes, picking the correct verbs when we write in our college essays. So as far as the thesis and outline for compare and contrast, I want to pull that document up here. You just have what your topic is, the overall purpose, and the outline or points that your paper is going to discuss. So let me pull up a Word document here and show you what your options are for a compare and contrast outline. Because you have two options, really. There are two options you can do. So your book talks about this to an extent, but you have what we call subject by subject, and you have point by point. And these are the two types of outlines you can do for a compare and contrast assignment. So if you choose to do subject by subject, your first point is obviously going to be your introduction and thesis, and you can list that in your outline. Then you're going to do subject 1. And you're going to talk about everything that has to do with that subject. So subject 1 is cereal. You're going to talk about cereal. So let's just say subject 1 is Fruity Pebbles. Let's say that's my first subject. I'm going to talk about my points with Fruity Pebbles first. I'm going to talk about taste, I'm going to talk about texture, and I'm going to talk about nutrition. All right. Then I'm going to take subject number 2, and let's say it's Raisin Bran. I'm going to talk about the exact same thing: taste, texture, nutrition. So the pros of doing a subject by subject outline and a subject by subject format with a compare and contrast is you get to talk about everything with that subject all at once. So there's no back and forth. You get to basically, as a writer, put down everything about that one subject first and then everything about the other subject, and then what you would come back and do is compare and contrast the two subjects. And you could say like which one you like best and important notes. And then you have your conclusion. So that's a subject by subject outline. So if you choose to do this format with paper number 3, then this is the outline that I want for that paper if you're doing subject by subject. Now, if you're doing point by point, let me get this up here. If you're doing point by point, then obviously you'll have your introduction and thesis first, same thing. But then here's where it gets different. Instead of talking about one entire subject first and then another subject second, you're going to go by points instead. So you could talk about taste. And you could say Fruity Pebbles versus Raisin Bran. All right, and then you can talk about texture. And it's going to be the same exact thing, where you're basically comparing and contrasting in the moment at the same time. And then you'll have your overall impressions and favorite, and then your conclusion. So you're still dealing with the exact same amount of information for each one. The difference is that instead of comparing and contrasting at the very end, you'll do that throughout your paper. And then you'll have your overall impressions at the end and followed by your conclusion. So, I mean, the pros of this are that your audience gets to see the comparison and contrasting in the moment as they read. So it's structured perhaps a little bit more fluidly and a little bit easier to follow. The cons are, as a writer, you're going to have to go back and forth with your subjects throughout the entire paper. So it's up to you how you want to format your compare and contrast. I'll be honest, I've seen papers that have received A's in this class with both subject by subject and point by point. So either way, you can't go wrong. It's really just going to depend on your subject and the type of paper you want to create. That's really the overall thing about it. So you can choose whichever format you want and you can go from there. All right. But that is comparing those two types of outlines for your thesis and outline assignment for paper 3. And then week 11's discussion forum, there's a video to watch here. And so the video after, it's about graphic novels versus written texts. It's just a compare and contrast between the two. And so you're going to watch the video, and then there's 3 questions that have to do with the video afterwards. So it's a pretty straightforward. You guys did awesome on the discussion forum talking about the music videos, the 2 different songs. So this is kind of the same thing. It's comparing and contrasting 2 types of texts, both graphic novels and written texts, and seeing how they're similar and different. So I'm curious, your thoughts on the 2 songs were really great. Some of you had some really funny answers. So I'm curious to know what you guys think about this video and the answers and the questions for it. But yeah, so that's pretty much it due this week. You've just got the grammar review, the thesis and outline for your compare and contrast, and the week 11 discussion forum. The only thing due Friday is your discussion post, and then everything else is due Sunday. So as always, if y'all have any questions, please don't hesitate to let me know, and I'm happy to answer them. But so far, you guys are doing good. Please keep it up. We're getting closer and closer. It's already mid-March, so we're getting closer to the end of the month, and then we'll only have we're already at week 11, so we really only have, we're further in the class than we have left, so that's always a good thing. But if you have any questions, please let me know. But otherwise, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and I'll talk to you all again real soon.